You ever wonder if what we look for in a partner is, set in stone, or if it changes depending on our circumstances? For decades, we've kind of been told that women are just hardwired to want wealthier partners. Well, get this. A fascinating new study put that idea to the test. And the results, they might just change how you think about attraction forever. Okay, let's dive in.
All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with that timeless question about attraction, look at the big scientific debate, and then jump into a really cool virtual experiment. We'll unpack the core findings, talk about what didn't change, which is super interesting, and finally explore what it all means for the future of desire.
So first up, let's talk about a belief that's practically baked into our culture. This idea that men and women are just wired to look for completely different things in a partner.
And that brings us to the central question, right? Is it really true that women, on average, put a higher value on financial security than men do? And if so, is that just biology, or is it something our society has taught us? That's the mystery we're going to unravel.
Now, this isn't just some casual water cooler chat. Nope. This has been a huge scientific debate that's been raging for more than 30 years, with two major camps duking it out.
So you've got these two big ideas. On one side, you have evolutionary psychology. It basically says, hey, this goes way, way back. Our ancestors needed providers to survive, especially during pregnancy and child-rearing, and that preference got passed down. But on the other side, social role theory is like, hold on, it's way simpler than that. It argues we just learn to want what our society tells us is valuable for our role. Now, most scientists figured the truth was somewhere in the middle, but the million-dollar question has always been, well, how much of each is it really? And here's why the debate was deadlocked for so long. In the real world, trying to untangle all the reasons people want what they want is like trying to unscramble an egg. It's just impossible. I mean, think about it. A person's own income is all mixed up with the societal rules and pay gaps where they live. You could never isolate just one thing. So, what do you do?
Well, if you can't get a clean answer from the real world, you build a new one. That's exactly what researchers did. They designed this incredible experiment to finally control for all those messy variables and see what's really pulling the strings.
The whole experiment was built on this really powerful idea called behavioral ecology. And the gist of it is this. We aren't just robots playing out some ancient, dusty script. We're smart. We're strategic. We're constantly adjusting what we want and how we act to give ourselves the best shot at success in whatever environment we find ourselves in.
So here's how they did it. And it's pretty brilliant. First, people stepped into this made-up virtual world. Then, and this is key, they were given a totally random income. They were also dropped into a society with a very specific pay gap. In some worlds, men earned more. In others, women earned more. And in some, it was totally equal. And only then were they asked, okay, now design your ideal partner. What this did was create all these different economic realities. And for the first time ever, researchers could actually pull apart two things that are always tangled up in real life: your own personal bank account and the overall economic structure of your society. This was the game changer. It was the key to finally unlocking the puzzle. All right, so they've got hundreds of people, 45 different virtual worlds. The stage is set. So what happened? Let's get to the juicy part, the results. And the findings were, wow, crystal clear. It boiled down to two big things that totally changed what people wanted in a partner: how much money they had, and the economic power balance between men and women in their little virtual world. Now, the first part isn't a huge shocker, right? If you were assigned a lower income, you cared a lot more about your partner's financial prospects. Makes sense. But this is where things get really wild, because the researchers didn't just stop at creating an equal pay world. No, they flipped the script entirely. They created worlds where women, on average, made twice as much as men. And what they found there, whoa, it shattered everything we thought we knew. And you can just hear the surprise in the lead researcher's own words. This is Macken Murphy, the study's author. He said he expected the preference gap to get smaller, but, and I quote, "I didn't think that sex difference would go away." But it did, completely. And boom, here it is. This chart says it all. The moment women held the economic power in this virtual world, that famous gender gap we always hear about, gone. Poof, it vanished. Men became just as interested in finding a partner who earned more than them as women were. It wasn't about being a man or a woman, it was simply about economics. Okay, but wait, the plot thickens, because it turns out that while our desire for a wealthy partner is incredibly flexible, some of our other preferences, well, they seem to be a lot more stubborn. So what you see is this really fascinating split. The desire for financial security, super adaptable. It changed right along with the economy.
But preferences for things like physical attractiveness and, surprisingly, a partner's age, those didn't budge. This kind of suggests that while our economic strategies are modern and flexible, maybe some of our other desires are still listening to older, more ancient cues about things like health and fertility.
And this was the other real shocker of the study. See, out in the real world, there's a known trend. As women earn more money, the age gap between them and their partners tends to shrink. But not here. In this perfect controlled environment, it made no difference at all. No matter who is the breadwinner, women still preferred slightly older men, and men still preferred slightly younger women. It seems that's one preference that money just can't touch.
So, let's zoom out. After all this, what's the big picture? What does this virtual world experiment really tell us about our own lives? Here is the absolute bottom line. That old idea that our romantic checklist is permanently carved in stone by evolution, it's just not the whole story. Not even close. What this shows is that we are incredibly adaptive creatures. We are strategically flexible, and we adjust what we want in a partner to best fit the world we actually live in.
The study's author really puts it perfectly. We are masters of adjustment. When our circumstances change, our desires can change right along with them, helping us make the best possible choice for our situation. We're not running on old software, we're constantly updating. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to chew on, doesn't it? This whole experiment is like a sneak peek into a possible future. As our own world keeps changing, as the gender pay gap continues to evolve, this research suggests our very definition of an ideal partner is going to evolve right along with it. What do you think that future will look like?